This is Shannon Grady coming with you with Palmetto Politics, and today we have a very special guest, a friend of the show, Mr. Ken Richardson, who, as you all know, was our chairman here for the Horry County School Board and ran for the congressional seat for District 7. And Mr. Richardson has apparently bumped his head again and has made a decision to enter into the foray of politics once more into the fray. This time he is running for the mayor of Conway. Mr. Richardson, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shannon. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's now I remember having a conversation with you and I said much the same thing, so I can't say a whole lot to you, but I remember saying, what do you think? You gonna do anything else in politics? And I believe your response is about the same as mine is no way.
Well, I tell you, Shannon, that seventh congressional race, it took a pretty good chunk out of me, and I think I was thinking about it the other day. I've actually told a friend. I think the last time I took a whipping like that, I was in the sixth grade. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
so
yeah, it does. I can totally understand that. So what propelled you into the decision to get into this race? Because I'm pretty sure you didn't just wake up with this idea. I have a feeling there were some folks that maybe nudged you in this
uh,
direction.
yeah, that's true. Well, basically, I retired in December, and I was kind of enjoying myself. Just kind of doing a lot of honeydew projects around the house, and
I've
uh,
seen some; they look great.
well, the thing about it is, when I was the chairman of the board over at Horry Georgetown Technical College, I had a group of people met with me. I think there was 8 of us that met when I got asked to run for the chairman of the board of education for Horry County, and so we ran and won that race, and in previous years, I've served on other things and ran for other things, and in fact, I've never lost anything until the congressional thing this past time, but I've never seen anything like this. This time, I easily, I would say, I've had at least just an average guessing over 300, 350 phone calls from friends that live
Wow.
in Conway, because a lot of people don't realize. Everybody think I'm from Conway. I am from Conway.
Right.
Always lived just on the outskirts of Conway,
Hmm.
and because of the flooding situation, and I lived there on the river, and
Hmm.
we got flooded out, I think, 7 times in the last 4 years uh, prior to us selling. So we, we sold and moved into the city limits of Conway, and
All right.
I love Conway. I mean, quite frankly, if I would have lived in the city, I probably might not have even run for school board chairman. I might have ran for mayor um, a long time ago.
Right. Right.
Right.
Well, I mean, I know that I own a business, as most folks know. I own Sport Free Play, which I just came from work. So, and that store is located right there on Third Avenue, 1119. And so, I absolutely understand the impact and the importance of having a great mayor who knows how to effectively run the city and help businesses to prosper. And just to be totally honest with you, I'm a little disappointed with what I've seen thus far by Mayor Bellamy, and that is that I haven't seen her at all. When they did the ribbon cutting, we had a couple folks from the Chamber of Commerce come out, and that was it.
Mhm.
And she's never graced my door, never darkened my door. And I mean, she may be busy, but I just think at some point in time, you should make it a point to go to all the new businesses and welcome them into the city and the area that you supposedly are there to help.
Right.
So, what does a Ken Richardson mayorship look like?
Well, I can tell you this: the mayor. What a lot of people don't understand, the mayor really only has one function, and because the mayor only has one vote, just like the city council members,
Right.
and the mayor they need to run the meeting, make sure it's done in a timely manner, and go to, like you said, ribbon cuttings or maybe events or something like that. The problem that I see right now. Uh, I don't want to really say anything about the city because when you haven't worked with a group of people, it's
Mhm.
kind of like the same, almost exact same situation that happened to me when I ran for board of education. You
Right.
know, they had one of their own that ran against me, somebody that was on the board and a couple other people, but no one had ever served with me before. And, I tell this story, but it's a true story. The night that I got sworn in as chairman, um, half of the board wouldn't even speak to me. I mean,
Wow.
I was not their guy, and I understand that. And a lot of times people, they get confused because they think that some guy's going to ride in on a white horse and everything's going to change and all that. And really, that's not the way it works. The way it works, a good mayor's got to have a good council. Yeah, I mean, and what we have right now, from what I'm seeing, is the mayor makes a lot of decisions and then kind of tells the council about them later.
Right.
And it needs to be a little bit the other way around. It needs to be where the mayor gets with council and then they all make the decision and then they announce the decision.
Right.
Because
So in other words, it's not supposed to be a fiefdom where you have this king who dictates, or queen who dictates what's going to happen within the city, and then says to the council, "Go and do my bidding." That's not
I
the way it's supposed to be run.
mean, yeah, it's just like, they had the last situation that they had, which was, nobody's going to dodge the question because everywhere I go, it's all everybody talks about was the proclamation that the mayor did.
Right.
And, she did the proclamation and then told city council about it. Well, really, it kind of puts the city council in kind of a tough spot because I know for a fact I've had people on city council tell me, "Hey, I knew nothing about it. I was
Yep.
blind."
Same here. Same here.
And and you cannot continue, for example, with the first 4 years that Barbara was the mayor, she one of the things I know that I remember that she did that stood out to me was she gave the keys to the city to Pete Buttigieg, who was the mayor, I think, of South Bend, Indiana.
Was
He
running
was
for
a
president. Yeah.
he was a Democratic presidential candidate who
Mhm.
came to town, and she gave him the key to the city. She didn't ask city council. I mean, she went back, but it was already done.
Retroactively.
And
Right.
same thing happened then. I had friends that were on city council, and I called them, and 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 then that was her in her first term, and then
Mhm.
here she is in her second term, and she goes and she does the proclamation, to make the whole month of June LBGTQ month, uh,
Mhm.
and she doesn't talk to city council about it. I mean, they find out, and they're having to deal with that. And my thing is, the first 4 years she did something that I didn't agree with, and the second 4 years she did something I didn't agree with. But the problem is, if we give her 4 more years, what's next?
Mhm.
You know,
Absolutely.
yeah. So
Well, it's funny you should say that because that obviously, again, that proclamation got a lot of public attention because it outraged many of the churches in the area. And I alluded with other friends that if she were the mayor of, say, Myrtle Beach, and she did that, probably less pushback going to come from that particular area just because of the demographics that make that area up. But in Conway, it's still a very conservative, very close knit community, and to think that you could do that without any kind of repercussions is pretty. Well, it says to me that she's not really in touch. She may be a little bit tone deaf with understanding the community that she represents.
well,
And I go ahead.
I like to say this: when you run for mayor or you run for city council in Conway,
Mhm.
you run as a nonpartisan,
Correct.
and you can't be somebody like me my whole life. I mean, everything I've been a Republican my whole life. I've never tried to
Mhm.
hide it. I'm not ashamed of it.
Mhm.
I'm a conservative and I have different ideas than maybe than some other people. But, but, but Barbara is the most partisan, nonpartisan person I believe I've ever met because
Right.
she doesn't hide the fact of where she leans also. And, and, the thing that stands out and the thing that I hear people say to me is this: Horry County is the largest county in South Carolina.
Correct. Yep.
Horry County is one of the reddest counties in South Carolina.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
the city the county seat is Conway. So
Correct.
we've got the largest county and one of the most conservative counties, but the city seat is run by a liberal mayor, and
Mhm.
she's got the record to prove it. I mean, to back that up.
Right. Yeah. It's not like you're making that up. Those are the facts. And I'd go one step further and Ken and say this, that if you look at our entire delegation, now we're going outside of Conway and going to the Horry County as a whole, all of our delegation members, well, first of all, none of them are members of the Freedom Caucus, which is the super conservative group
Right.
that birthed in the U.S. Congress and now is here in our state house. So we don't have a very strong conservative group of leadership anywhere. And I would say that certainly is evident not only just here with the mayor of Conway, but also again the mayor of Myrtle Beach is anything but conservative. They're all liberals. So it kind of begs the question: how can an area as you described that is so red continue to put in place people that are so liberal? I mean, how does this continue to happen? Any thoughts as to how these people? Is it because they mask that and the folks don't realize it, or what do you think?
Well, I don't. A lot of people like to blame different things. I actually had someone the other day tell me that they thought it was because we had so many people moving in, but but I don't believe that either. Because a prime example is, we just had a special election here in Conway,
Right.
and a friend of mine was running. For the first time, they had wound up having a runoff, but a friend of mine was running, and I remember he told me he went and knocked on this gentleman's door. He was doing some door knocking, out campaigning. And the man asked him, he said, well, let me ask you. He said, are you a Republican or a Democrat? And he told him, he said, well, sir, we run nonpartisan. You don't run as Republican or Democrat. And the
Right.
man, he said, well, my wife and I moved down here from Michigan. He said, I didn't ask you if it was a partisan or nonpartisan. I asked you if you were a Republican or a Democrat. And so he told him, he said, I'm a Republican. And the man said, well, come on in, have a glass of iced tea. And they came in and built a relationship. My understanding, the people voted for him. So everybody that comes down here, a lot of people are trying to get away from some of the stuff that's going on, because
Absolutely.
I can tell you this. I know we have a lot of good people that work for the city of Conway.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
I think I checked, there was like 288 people working. I think their budget's about $75 million a year or something like that. Well, I just came from a job where I had 7,000 employees.
Right.
My budget was almost $1 billion a year.
Right.
So I'm used to working with large numbers, and I'm used to working with a good sized group of people. But I think Conway has some good people already in place.
Mhm.
And the one thing that I hate when people say, oh, if he gets elected, he's going to come in, he's going to make all these changes, and he's going to do this, because my philosophy is, if you want to be a good leader, you surround yourself with better people than you are. And
Right.
I think we've already got some there.
Right.
And I also think that a good idea is a good idea, and I don't care who comes up with it.
Right.
It doesn't have to be my idea to be a good idea.
Mhm.
But we cannot be. I do not want to turn Conway. I don't want Conway to go backwards and become Mayberry,
Right.
but I don't want it to be Chicago either.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I don't think there's too many people calling me. There's too many people reaching out to me. A lot of these churches have reached out. A lot of individual people that Barbara likes to say she graduated from the last graduation class that came from Whittemore. Well, she did, but I actually my junior year in high school, I played football with the guys that came over from Whittemore my junior and senior year, and I
Right.
and I have had built long lasting relationships with these guys. And I mean, and we're good friends. Conway is a close knit community. And I'm telling you right now, because they've told me, um,
Yes.
I don't care where you stand. There's people that don't like this proclamation that just happened. And I've had a lot of people tell me, oh, it'll go away. Well, Tom Rice thought the same thing.
Exactly.
You know,
And it
and
didn't go away.
yeah,
He did.
that happened 2 years and it didn't go away.
Mhm.
This election is 90 days from today.
Mhm.
and it's not going to go away. And I think the people of Conway, I mean, I think everybody's advanced and everybody looks into the future and everybody knows we've got growth and everybody knows there's a lot of changes that are happening in our county and in our
Mhm.
city. But I don't think anybody wants what's going on right now because, like I said, what's next?
Right. Well, one of the things as a business owner, again, I go back to that is, driving around the Conway area, they've got the mall over there, and I think somebody it was a meme they put up. They said, it was, I think, Inlet Mall or something. They said the Inlet Mall hasn't given up, so if it hasn't given up, you shouldn't give up either. It's got a lot of empty spots in there. And then, of course, downtown is actually, I'm in the downtown area, and most of the vacancies are now putting businesses in there. So it's definitely growing. It's becoming much more vibrant, which brings us back to the age old problem of you got businesses now. How do we get the people there? And that comes down to parking. Now, you and I discussed the fact that the city shot down, thankfully, the idea of the paid parking because I think the premise was we're going to charge for parking, and it wasn't going to be a whole lot. I want to say it was like $2 or something like that, $2 for 2 hours, something like that.
Right.
And then that money was going to be put into some sort of account for a later building of a parking garage. Well, the problem there is twofold. One, at $2 a car, you and I'll be dead, and our kids will probably be dead before that ever happens in terms of getting enough money to do that. And then number two, I don't want a big parking garage built in the downtown Conway area because part of the Conway area is beautiful. I mean, you got this great river view, and the only place that you really had to put something like that kind of a structure would be down there towards the river. And I just think that's an eyesore, and I wouldn't want it to happen. I think we have parking already. We just don't have people willing to use the parking because it requires them walking a distance. And so you and I have discussed this before about the possibility of putting in some sort of a trestle or what do you call it, a trolley that brings people, picks them up from the parking lot and drops them off, and maybe they have a fee where they get on that. I think that's more advantageous than a parking garage, or certainly than putting in parking meters. But does a Ken Richardson mayor have any kind of ideas for how to mitigate those kinds of problems and how to bring Conway fully back to life?
Well, one of the things we got to do, and this is one thing I'm excited about. There might be some great ideas that's already out there, but there's a lot of people that might be scared to speak up. And I love people that think outside the box. And Conway, I mean, whether it be a hop on, hop off trolley that it runs for free around the city. And we do something where people have a place to park and it picks them up and takes them into downtown or to the riverfront or whatever. Um, that I believe with some of the people that I know that already work with the city, I think
Yeah.
there's probably great ideas out there. But you know, quite frankly, I think that if some ideas are brought to city council and city council has the input, I think it's going to make a lot of difference. More than just having a mayor who comes in and tells city council the way it's going to be. I mean,
Yeah.
really,
Multiple heads are better than one.
yeah, I almost feel like the mayor really should work for city council in a way, because I mean you're talking about six good people and six good minds that can help one versus one trying to tell the other six. You see where I'm going with
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Yeah.
that?
I mean, that makes too much sense, Ken. We can't have that. You're being way too sensical for a man who's thinking about being a politician. Working in collaboration with others is pretty much a foreign concept to most politicians. They're too busy trying to get their name out there.
Well, it shouldn't be about who gets the credit.
Right.
I mean, if we do something good, we should all get the credit. And a prime example was I had. I remember when I ran for chairman of the board of education, I had a lot of people telling me about. They were actually handing me pieces of paper with names on. Said, "Oh, you need to fire this person, or you need to fire that person." And you get out there and you find out that some of these people are actually good, strong people. They just need people. They needed the leadership to get out of their way.
Right.
And
Right.
I think it's that way with Conway. I think that there's some great ideas out there. I mean, it could be a guy that drives a garbage truck that's on the route every week that
Mhm.
he might have a better idea about some of the infrastructure than somebody sitting up there in the planning and zoning that has. I mean, it's you need to be able to listen to everybody. And I can tell you that's one thing that I did. I have always put my phone number out there for everybody. The one thing, I didn't make everybody happy when I was on the school board, because it was tough going through the school board chairmanship during COVID. And you
Yes.
don't make everybody happy, but I can tell you this: everybody could call me, because I took the
Mhm.
phone call. I put my number out there, and it'd be the same way. And the most valuable asset Conway has right now, with the exception, I think the riverfront and the trees are our two strong
Right.
assets. But
Sure.
we got some great people, and I'm excited to go in there and see what they have to say, because
Absolutely.
I'm sure with the mayor we've got that there is people that had great ideas that they've kept to themselves.
Yeah, and that's not the atmosphere you want to set. I like your open door policy. Bring an idea. No idea is not worth listening to. May not be possible to implement, but at least you hear the idea out, and I think that's good. Um, One of the issues or concerns that is kind of facing Ori as a whole is simply because Myrtle Beach. I just saw one of the listings come out. My pastor actually shared it, and it said that Myrtle Beach has been listed as the number one destination for people moving to. Now, there's like 8 other places on there that are in Florida, but Myrtle Beach is number one. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So now, when they say Myrtle Beach, they don't just mean west of the or east of the waterway. They also mean west of the waterway as well, which encompasses Conway. In fact, I know you're aware of this, that the Conway area and the Aner area are growing by leaps and bounds. And you and I discussed earlier something that's already in the works. Before you even get in there, there's a discussion about whether they're going to add this 1,700 acre development that's supposed to be sort of like a Carolina Forest esque type development. And I think you and I had discussed, and you'd said they haven't put out whether that's going to happen within the city limits of Conway or whether that's going to happen just in the county itself. Regardless of where it takes place, it's pretty evident that's going to put additional burden on our infrastructure and our schools and things. So, with your background as the chairman of the school, what are some areas that we've got to work on in terms of schools, and what role, if any, does the city, the mayor, have in that?
Well, to answer your first question, you've got to get back to, because let me tell you, growth is coming. Uh,
Hmm.
it's either going to come into Horry County, or if it made sense to put it in, if there was a reason and it made sense to put it in Conway, then I can understand why it might come in Conway, or might come into Aner, or Loris, or any other town. But it's got to make sense, or either the county's got to cover it. But you also got to look at the quality of the people that are coming in and what they're bringing with them, because a
Hmm.
lot of people that are moving here are over the age of 50, and
Hmm.
it's a couple. They don't have. I mean, they might have the grandchildren 3 or 4 weeks out of the summer, but you know, one of the great we had a guy that worked with us at the school district's best I've ever seen at being able to tell us what our growth was going to be every year. And it's not hard to figure out. Every time 800 new kids come into any area,
Hmm.
that's a new school.
Right.
I mean, anytime you got that kind of growth, that's a new school. But a lot of these people that come in, I mean, you might have an area that might build 1,500 homes, but
Hmm.
1,000 of those homes might be seniors that
Right.
bring no extra, nothing extra into the school system. And but uh, but I do think that's one of the things that is actually a strength of mine, is when people talk about schools, I understand, because I've been there, I've run that show. People talk about flooding. The flood has been a big issue around Conway. Well, I serve on the flood commission. People talk about growth. Well, I was on the committee that redrew the new district lines. Um, and then also it comes into having building relationships over time. And Shannon, you know yourself,
Hmm.
uh, I've got relationships all over the state. Uh,
Right.
you, you know, even during COVID, every Monday morning I got a call from Dr. Traxler with DHEC telling me where the numbers were. Of course, Wednesday I'd get a call from CDC telling me total different numbers, and then I had
Right.
a decision before Monday night before the meeting. But but you need somebody that has built relationships up, and I have built those relationships, and I can tell you this, I think Barbara said when she ran that she was only going to serve 2 terms, but now she's seeking her 3rd term. I can tell you this: when I make a promise to the people, I'm going to keep the promise. And
Right.
and I'm not looking for I'm not looking to go in there and retire again as the mayor of Conway.
Serve in perpetuity, in perpetuity.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I would like to get elected, go in there, do the best I can, help turn a few things around, and because there's younger people coming,
Mhm.
and and those young people bring great ideas with them. Just
Right.
like I think I've got some great ideas, and I have people ask me sometimes, well, what would you do about this? And what would you do about that? Well, those are things I'm going to do when I get elected to be the mayor. I mean, I'm not going to go out there and put something out there just for some council member to bring it up and it gets shot down again.
Right. Right. Well, I like the idea that you're willing to collaborate and work together, and I agree with you that there are some really solid people already in the Conway area. I mean, the people of Conway are awesome. I'm a South Carolina girl, but as you well know, I'm from Clover, South Carolina, so about three and a
Right.
half hours away. But moving into the Conway area has been the best thing I've ever done. I mean, I love the people. It reminds me of my hometown, that same hometown feel, and so they've been very welcoming, very supportive, just a great group of people. So I'm enjoying it, and I obviously want to see the town and the city of Conway continue to be successful and to flourish. And so I'm willing to do my part. Now, one of the things I'm a little, I don't know, there's always money coming out of your pocket when you're a business owner. I know you understand that
Right.
totally. So when I came down, first thing I did was I joined with the Chamber of Conway. Conway Chamber of Commerce, and then I found out there was also this group called is it Conway Alive or Conway Down? I can't. I think
Uh,
it's Conway Alive.
Conway Alive.
Yeah, and so they said, "Well, if you wanna join with them, they'll help you get, things done for your business." And so I was really confused. I thought, "Why isn't that something that the chamber does? Why is there a wholly separate entity that does that?" And then, of course, they also charge money. So now instead of just paying one time, $250 to the chamber, now I gotta come up with another 250 up to $1,000, annual for this other group, to get these other things done. So, I mean, to me, that seems like something that should be married together and we just have one, but maybe I'm crazy. What
Yeah.
what do you think there, Ken?
Well, and I was actually looking at that the other night because I was going over last year's budget for the city. Once I made the decision to run, of course, then my job is to start looking at what I can find, little things that might need to be fixed, and tweaking some things, and seeing seeing something that might work here that won't work over here. But I picked up on that because actually both of those there's funds for both of those, the chamber and the
Are they alive? Yeah.
yeah, Downtown Live or
Yeah.
whatever the exact name of it is.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, I that would be a hard one for me to answer right now because that's one of those things. Because you might go on there and find out that both of them do a totally different job and both of them have good people doing it. So it would be hard for me to sit here. I mean that would be like asking me how food tastes in a restaurant when I've never been there.
Right, right. I got you.
Hmm.
Okay, so you're gonna wait and see when you get in there and just see what are the actual roles, and if there's something that can be consolidated, then that was something to look at. But if it's apparent that you need the two entities to be able to perform the job, then maybe it stays status quo. I
Yeah.
get you.
And that used to be called, I think it was Main Street USA or something like that. But
Mhm.
a lot of people don't remember. But I was a businessman in Conway also, and
Mhm.
you know, I used to have to do the same thing. We gave to the chamber and we gave to Main Street and supported the city. And in fact, I was the chairman of the board the night we brought Horry Georgetown Technical College into the city of Conway. And as a matter of fact, it was actually back then the chairman didn't vote, and but there was a tie vote. It was four voted to do it, and four voted against it. And I had to break the tie to put Horry Georgetown Tech in the city, which was a great idea. Just like
Yes, it was.
putting Coastal in was a great idea. But but we are not Conway is not hitting on all cylinders bad. There's a lot of good going on in Conway
Oh,
right now.
absolutely. Yeah. Agreed.
What we have to do is fine tune what we've got, and and I can tell you, I think it's time for a change. I think Barbara should have done what she said she was going to do. She said she was going to serve 2 terms. She should have served 2 terms. Because I
Mhm.
mean, Barbara and I are friends, and we've been friends, and I hope we're friends after this is over. But friends is friends, but business is business, and
Mhm.
and I've got some things that over the next coming weeks it's going to be coming out, that some questions that I'm going to ask, and you know. I mean, I went back and I've watched a lot of the city council meetings, and I mean, and these proclamations. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, they're handing proclamations out like candy canes, and I'm telling you, uh, I'll make you a promise right now, and you can put this out to the people. You will never ever see Ken Richardson sign a proclamation that city council didn't ask me to sign first. You'll never
Gotcha.
You'll never see me go out rogue and do a proclamation. I don't care if it's a 125-year-old grandmother that just got a driver's license. I'm not going to do any proclamations.
Eh, yeah, not without the city council saying, "Hey, let's do this."
I mean, because that's really who the mayor's supposed to be answering to, is city council,
Mhm. Right.
not the other way around.
Well, one of the things I would like to see happening, and I know the businesses downtown, that's really what they're shooting for anyway, is I'd like to see a better relationship connection with both the technical college and Coastal Carolina University. I'm an alumni there. Well, I'm wearing my hat, chance up. But I'd love to see something where we get more of those kids to come down and do a little bit of shopping in the area. Now we have had, when the parents come down with the kids and they're looking at the school, sometimes they'll stop in the city, but I'd love to see a little bit better marketing. I don't know how we do that. That's outside of my purview, but I'd love to see folks more interested in coming to Conway. Because full disclosure, course, I'm a little older than these kids today. I'm a retired educator myself, but about 34 years ago, when I was at Coastal Carolina, when we went out, we'd go to Myrtle Beach. That was a place to go. And Conway, I don't think other than driving through it to get to school, I really ever spent any time there. I think Central Park, that little hot dog stand that's kind of in the middle there where the on 501, you got Popeye's chicken, and it's right there. I would go there sometime and get a burger, but that's about it. And that's there's not a lot of things that are left that look the same as they did 30 years ago. But anyway, I want to start seeing more kids, more students coming
Well,
downtown and shopping.
and I tell you, and that's another thing. It's just like right now. Imagine that you and your husband have got a couple of kids, say 1 9 and 1 7.
Hmm.
Really, what is there to do in downtown Conway?
Oh, you just got that great little park over there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we need to get Conway needs to be business friendly. We need to bring in more business, and we
Hmm.
need business, because you shouldn't have to. A family shouldn't have to drive to the beach every time they want to go out to eat.
Right.
And the problem is, as Conway grows, and and this is one of the things that I would like to see changed. I don't care if you live in Aner. If somebody buys a home in Aner and they just moved down here from Pennsylvania,
Right.
when somebody asks them, where did you move to? Where do you live? They're going to say Myrtle Beach. And I mean, it happens in Loras, it happens in Conway. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got to use the assets that we've got, like the riverfront and some of the other things, to distinguish ourselves, that we're different, and we need to be a
Mhm.
little bit different. And there's a reason that it's called the Independent Republic of Oree, and at Conway seat of that.
Right.
There's a
Yeah.
reason for that. And I think I can put a pic on Facebook or any social media of me fishing and
Hmm.
get 600, 700 likes. But I can put a picture of a political statement or something there, and I might get 4 likes. So that tells me people don't like to talk about politics. They,
Hmm.
they most people don't like politicians. They've been told so many things, and they've been let down. The promises have not come true. So
Hmm.
what I found out is that the least amount you promise, the better off you're going to be in politics. So
Right.
uh, I remember when I ran for school board, I said the 2 promises I made was, one, I would never raise your taxes as long as I was the school board chairman, and number two, I would get your kids to school safe, educate them for 180 days, and get them home safe. And that was tough to do during COVID. But But with all the heat that I took, I'm proud of the fact that I didn't lose a single student or teacher to COVID. And now we had some that, that I actually lost two board members to it,
Right.
but COVID was a tough thing to go through because it shut the whole country down for 2 years, which kind of
Yes.
back. But Conway's got to grow, and we've got to distinguish ourselves from Myrtle Beach, because
Agreed.
there was a time I'd take my kids to Myrtle Beach and drop them off on the boulevard and go back and pick them up 3 hours later.
Not
No,
anymore.
no, I would do that now.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, and that's kind of what I say is that if you want to come to a place that's really welcoming, and you could actually have your kids out there, it is Conway. It's not Myrtle Beach, because Myrtle Beach, like you said, it's they've got a serious crime problem, they've got a homeless problem, and so there are some issues that have to be dealt with there. And I think that Conway is sort of the gem of the county, in my personal belief. And I think that we need to get some of the polish out, and let's make this sucker shine, because it's gotten a little dim in the past couple of years. And I think you are the right man. It seems like you've got the right attitude. I love the fact that you're not coming in here guns blazing. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And you're taking a more of a yes, there's things that need to be fixed, but let me first get in here and let's see what the county council, excuse me, what the city council has to say. And maybe we've already got some great ideas that we can implement.
Well, I
So
tell you,
good.
I want to say this. One of the last things I'd like to say. I mean, I owe Conway. I owe my life to Conway, because 60 years ago, probably on a day like today, I mean, I was riding my bicycle downtown by Conway selling boiled peanut, a basket hanging on each handlebar. I mean,
Yeah.
our entertainment was at lunchtime. We would go and grab something to eat, and we would all go down to the riverfront right behind what is now the bonfire, and we'd dive in the river. That's how we cooled off. I remember
Wow.
when really the Conway National Bank and Platt's drugstore were the two drugstores that had air conditioning, where you could actually go in and cool off. And you know, like I said, I'm not trying to take us back to Mayberry. We've evolved.
Sure.
We
And your population's too big for that now.
absolutely, absolutely. And but I don't want to see us grow so big that we start taking, left leaning liberal ideas also.
Right.
And I know
Right.
this is a nonpartisan race. I'm not running as a Republican. I'm not running as a Democrat. But I can't change. I mean, you can't change this, a zebra. I mean,
Right. Well, you're conservative, and that's something I think that we need in Conway, because again, Conway is a conservative town, and they want those kind of values. And as you've noted, and not every mayor race is nonpartisan. I mean, you look at some of the bigger cities, it's a partisan race. So I sometimes wonder. I get there's pros and cons to having it be nonpartisan. But at the end of the day, you just have to look at the candidate's history. What have they done? Where do they stand on issues? And as far as I'm concerned, just looking at what's happened over the last two terms, I'm not overall impressed. I think there is room for significant improvement. So I'd like to see a change in the leadership.
Well, yeah, and my understanding, and a lot of people, I get asked this a lot about, why is Horry County such a Republican stronghold? And you can't kid yourself. It is. We only have one elected Democrat
Yeah.
that's elected in Horry County, and that's a young lady that's on the school board that has never had a challenger. She was
Right.
appointed to the position, but she's never had a challenger. But I can tell you this: the last time a Democrat won an Horry County election countywide was 48 years ago. So, and that was Johnny Allen, who's our treasurer, and so.
No, there's one more. You forgot Luke Rankin.
Oh, well, Luke switched.
Yeah, but he didn't switch until 2012. So he was
Right,
a Democrat
right,
from
right.
92 to 12. So yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I would contend he's still a Democrat. He
well,
just
you know,
changed the R.
I can tell. It's easy for me to see why the municipalities are running nonpartisan. I see that because it gives
Mhm.
a little bit better chance for African Americans or
Yeah,
Hispanic, whoever, to have a shot.
right.
But I don't care who you are. I don't care what color you are. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what your lifestyle is. You know, there is a thing that's going too far, too fast.
Yes. Yeah.
And telling you right now, Barbara has gone too far, too fast with this community. Some of the things that are happening now is not what this community wants, and
Mhm.
I fully expect, there's people going to be on both sides of the fence, and I
Mhm.
understand that. But but this election is not just about a proclamation or giving the key to a city. I don't know if I mentioned this, but when Barbara was questioned about giving the key to the city to Pete Buttigieg, who was that Democratic candidate for president, she said back in the news article, she said, "Well, I did it because he was a person that we don't usually get someone that high up coming to Conway. And when somebody that's that a dignitary of that
Right.
statue comes to town, I'm going to recognize them."
Mhm.
What she didn't tell people is the president of the United States was here 1 year earlier.
Yeah, Donald Trump. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was here. He walked the streets of Conway 1 year earlier. And, I don't think he got any keys to the city.
Pretty sure not. I don't did she even meet with him?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll give her that then. Well, Ken, when is the election going to be held for this seat?
Well, in 17 days, I'm going to file. August the 25th at 12 o'clock is the first time you can file. And I'm going down to file. And the election is exactly 90 days from today. It's November the 7th.
All right.
And I'm hoping that we can get, I hope we have a record turnout, because Conway is historically, they don't vote like they should. We don't have as big a turnout. But
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot. This is going to be different because there's a lot of people I think that's wanting to see change. I mean, heck, I can tell you this: if everybody that's called me would get 10 people to the poll, I tell you right now, I'd win.
Yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Well, I'm certainly gonna do my part, to see if we can't make a positive change, and I fully and totally endorse Ken Richardson for mayor of Conway. And I do that as the owner of Sports Replayed in downtown Conway, and I do that as the host here of the Palmetto Politics Podcast. Ken Richardson has my support.
Well, thank you, Shannon. I appreciate that, and I do want to tell you this because I visited your business up there, and I think you got a great business, and I sure hope you do better than the last guy that was there.
Oh, you're a good guy, Ken. Thank you. I do too. But the last guy was a pretty good fella, so he's been quite successful in his life. So we lost you there in the picture. I don't know if you can still hear us or not, Ken. Yep, there you are. We got you back now.
Did I
Um,
lose you?
yeah, just for a second, just for a second. But I thank you so much. If there's anything else you want to say to the voters or the folks out there, if there's any questions, I didn't get any questions coming in, just let us know. You went back out on us, Ken. All right, folks. Looks like we've lost Ken. That's going to be a wrap for today. If you have any other questions, I know you can reach out to him on his Facebook page. It is Ken Richardson for Mayor of Conway. And as he noted, he will be registering here in about 17 days, and that election is November 7th. So please, if you are a Conway resident, make it a point to go out and vote. Your voice matters, and get your neighbors to go vote as well. That's really all we got for tonight. Just a special interview with candidate for Conway Mayor Richardson. Thank you so much for joining in. As always, God bless, Godspeed, and we'll see you next time.